Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of Important Work. I'm your host. I usually say co-host. I'm your host, Chris Angel, here with Brad Hart. Look, Brad, thanks for celebrating that. That made me feel special. Right there.
Oh, my pleasure, brother. I wanted to cheer you on from behind the scenes.
I need like a laugh track or an applause track or so.
Yay! I got a button.
Listen, people listening, what's that? Yeah.
No,
people
okay.
listening to this, here's what I want you to know. I created this show because I believe that people, you listening to this, have important work to do. And for most of us, it can be scary to take that step into the thing that we're really meant to do in this world. But this show has guests on that have found their important work. And so what we do is we explore what that is and then sort of the nuances of how they found it and how they scaled it. So Brad, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris. It's a pleasure to be here. And thanks for listening.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think I found you through my business partner, Allie, somehow. I don't even know how that happened. Do you know?
We got connected on the interwebs. That's how most people meet these days, whether it be to date or just to hang out and have a podcast. So
seriously, yeah.
Before, it'll happen again. I'm not too worried about it.
So funny. Well, you have I want to explore, you have a company called Make More Marbles. I want to hear what that is. And your podcast is called Make More Marbles also, yes?
That's right. Yeah. I went on a tear last year. We did 100 episodes, kind of burned out on it for a minute. I'm going to come back to it soon.
I've been there.
Yeah.
Been there. I've done that for sure.
Yeah,
but what's your background?
I give a lot of credit to the guys that can do like 100 podcasts in a row and keep going. Joe Rogans of the world that keep on trucking.
Right. Yep.
It's a beautiful medium. And I really hope that more people listen to more podcasts, especially, not just the top 10, but they dig into the niches a little bit more because there's riches in the niches. But to answer your question, my background, I came from New York. Originally, I grew up on Long Island. I was a kid who, didn't have a lot of friends growing up. I was kind of bullied a lot. My mom had left when I was super young. My dad was injured when I was young. I was about 2 years old when he was in a truck accident where the truck, the load and the lumber truck came back and pinned him to the steering wheel, and he wasn't able to walk for like 6 months.
Wow.
He was rolling around in a mechanic's creeper, and then he had one surgery so he could walk again, but he's never not in pain again. So that kind of changed and directed the course of his life and ultimately my life. Mom left around the time I was 5 to go to get work so she could keep a roof over her head. And they were never again together, but I stayed with my dad because I even intuitively knew at that time that he might not survive if I wasn't around, right? He wouldn't have a reason to live. It's a really interesting decision to have to make when you're 5 or 6, and I was angry at my mom for a long time for having me make that decision. I was angry at my dad for a long time for his shortcomings. And I just had a lot of anger and fear around life in general. And I was always a pretty, reasonably smart, bookish kid. I didn't really get along with people super well. I didn't have a lot of social skills. So by the time I was let out of the house, obviously I was picked on quite a bit by some of the older, more socialized kids. And I don't blame them. That's just what happened. And then that kind of became a theme throughout my life. I always felt like I never belonged. I always felt like I couldn't really relate to people my own age. I would always spend time with older people. And it left me with a lot of time to reflect. And I'm a very extroverted person by nature. So as I kind of went along the years and I tried different jobs out and I had different paths in life, I kept coming back to this idea of like finding a place to belong, right? That belonging need was a huge driver for me. That led me to want to, become more as a person. Right. I remember very distinctly, like not having the same friends at 16 as I did in college and not having the same friends in college as I did after college, and just never feeling like I had a common consistent thread of like the same friends throughout a lot of years. And I've had to heal a lot of things about myself that made that a reality. Over the years, I'm 33 now, but during those times, I noticed that was a constant thing. I never felt worthy, therefore I never felt loved, therefore I never felt belonging, therefore I never felt community. And no matter where I went in the world, and I've been to 25 countries now and 43 states, that was the key theme, is like no matter where I went, there I was. So I had to work on myself, and I did to some extent, and I'm still working on myself. And whether you're at the first chapter or the 30th chapter, there's no comparison here. There's a new level, there's a new devil, right? You're always learning something new, and you're always facing a new dragon and slaying it ideally. But this driver was kind of, I would put different things at the end of the road as the goal. I would say that I'm driving towards making more money because if I just make more money, everything will work out. And that led me to become pretty successful in real estate. And then my dad died and I shifted gears for a while. I became a hedge fund trader. I started my own funds, which ended up doing really well. There's a whole big long story, which I get into, but the long story short is I had somebody come to me. I had been writing in Forbes and a couple other publications about different stocks. And one of the stocks that I mentioned, he invested in, not because I solicited him to, but just because he thought it was a good idea on his own. And he's like, dude, I just paid for my wedding with that stock that you mentioned. I'm like, that's so cool. You know, great. Thanks for letting me know. He's like, well, what do I do to give you money to manage? I'm like, money to manage? Like, I have no idea what that looks like.
Wow.
So at the time I had some pretty smart friends, and I asked those friends, I'm like, hey, this guy wants me to give him money to manage. What do I do? They're like, oh, you start a hedge fund. I'm like, a hedge fund? How do I go about that? I don't even know where you start. Like, they're like, oh, it's easy. You start you got an accountant here, you got a lawyer here, Blue Sky Laws, Delaware, C Corp, whatever, or LP, I think we ended up structuring it as.
Wow.
And they're like, yeah, you just start a hedge fund. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll start a hedge fund. And I was just like, and I'm still unsure. I'm like, I don't need like the Pope to wave a magic wand and say you're a hedge fund worthy. I don't need like a license or any of this stuff. And apparently, no, if you have a pile of money in America and you want to structure it properly, you can go out and start a hedge fund. And the only requisite is that you take this pile of money and you try to make it into more money. That's really it. And it's nothing to do with being a trader or a broker on Wall Street and having those series licenses. It's not any of that. I was like, that's pretty interesting. So
that is interesting.
I had that little.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, at that time, I'm like, this is kind of cool. So I could just go pitch people who are accredited, sophisticated investors and go and manage their money for them. And I had about 200 of those people in my network, and I sucked at pitching, but I basically just started pitching them over and over and over again and figuring out like, okay, when I say that doesn't work, or when this happens, this doesn't work. And pretty much you just make all the mistakes in a narrow field, you become an expert. So I got to be an expert, quote unquote, on raising money at that time in my life. And I managed to raise from 17 different investors. And Heartwood Capital was born. We ended up doing 106% return in 2013. Our best month, and this was a partnership between two funds. The best month we did, I think, was like $1,040,000 collectively profit, which is a lot of money. Like, it was more than I ever seen or heard of. I couldn't really put my head around that number, but it seemed like a big number, and that I should be happy if that was my goal, right? If I was money and everything was going to be fine, then that was going to be the amount of money where it'd be like, oh yeah, $1 million a month, oh yeah, everything's great forever, right? No, it wasn't. It was actually really a lonely experience because here I am toasting. I quit drinking at this time, so toasting club soda to my business partners, who were drinking champagne and whatever else they were drinking on the top of the Park Gansevoort in New York City, and feeling more empty and more disconnected and more lost than I'd ever felt. And I'm like, well, what the fuck? I had just gone and done all these beautiful, amazing things and made all this money for all these people, and there was no connection. So looking back on that experience and realizing that now my rules are help a lot of people, have a lot of fun, make a lot of money. I was only living by rule number 3, and that's why I was not fulfilled, right? I had the science of success I had mastered, or at least done well for that period of time. Mastery is an elusive beast, let me tell you what.
For sure.
But I had that taste of ultimate success, but I didn't have that art mastered of fulfillment that Tony Robbins and others so keenly talk about. And it's really true. Like, fulfillment's an art. It's different for everybody. It's something that you need to discover on your own. And yeah, money can give you the space and the time to do that. But if you're not creating community and connection and relationships with people, it's pretty empty, regardless of the monetary size.
I feel like, so I love this story because I feel like this is, I mean, everybody finds themselves building a hedge fund.
It's a random thing. It's just crazy. It got weird.
But we all do find ourselves going down a path where we're sort of piecing life together as we go. And whatever career you find yourself in, or whatever path you're on, we at some point, I think, get to a place where like, what is my life for? Like, what am I really doing? And what do I, so tell me about the conversion experience. Like, tell me how you got to like,
right? Where did it turn? So I had that experience, and I kept going with the fun for a while. I didn't see a reason to stop it. And I just was becoming less and less in love with the work. This is like 2013. We wrap up the year. We had a big year. It was like 4x the S&P in returns, which is crazy. Like, most hedge fund managers will never be that successful. And I can't say I could have done it every year, but that year we were successful. So I decided, I thought about it for a while, and I ended up winding down the fund. I wrote everybody a big check. I'm like, I'm done with this. And they're like, you're crazy, because they've been sending me wire transfers to hide them from their wife from like Switzerland and shit. I wake up with $80,000 in my account or $100,000 in my account. Like, where did this money come from? It was a wild experience. I don't know. But, that wasn't for me anymore. I was clear that was a no. So I wound it down, finished up all the paperwork. It took like a year to wind down. It took like a year to build up, and then a year to wind down. So about 2 years went by, and I was thinking this whole time, I'm like, why wasn't I fulfilled? Why wasn't what I was doing? I thought it was like the model, like, oh, maybe just hedge funds aren't for me. And I equated it to that game, Hungry Hungry Hippos. Where like there's value created in the marketplace, but it's not created in the market. And what I mean by that is, like, you create value by building a company, by supporting your community, by having customer base, by having people. Like, that's where the value is created. And that's through products and services. And then that value is determined and decided upon in that marketplace, right? And that's where the traders come in and they decide through their buying and selling and they're voting with their dollars what that's worth, right? In reality. And there's the time present, the present time value, and then there's the long-term value. And that's how we have charts and pretty numbers and graphs and all these different metrics that we use to gauge the stock market. So value is not created in the stock market, it's determined. And then money is met with that value to decide, okay, which way is it going, up, down, left, right, whatever, right? So I was playing the latter portion of that game where I felt like I was the hungry hippos grabbing for all the marbles, and there's only so many marbles because in every trade there's a winner and a loser. It's just a matter of time to find out who is who. And then I didn't feel like I was playing a generative game. Like I was like, well, what if we just made more marbles? And I'm like, make more marbles. That sounds like a pretty cool idea. What if we were to come at this from an abundant perspective and not a scarcity driven perspective? Like I'm off to say, and maybe you've heard me before, if you followed me for a while and you're listening to this the first time, I'll tell you now, capitalism is the best system we've got, right? But that's not to say that it couldn't be better. It's not to say that it couldn't be something in the future. Just for the same reasons we don't use feudalism, which at the time was the best system anymore. We have a better way. Well, in the future, we'll have a different economic system because economics is really just a collective decision-making process that we're all undergoing. And it's really like we're looking 5 years in the past at what economics is because it's changing rapidly and more quickly than it's ever changed before now. Right. And it's the study of it won't catch up for another 5 or 10 years. And by then it'll have moved again. You're always skating to where the puck is going. So, I'm not smart enough or visionary enough to know where it's going, but I know it's changing rapidly with all the tools we have and the exponentials of the new economy. Just the fact that we can have a conversation via a web stream over a secure line that's recorded and then simultaneously cast out to thousands, if not millions of people over the years and stays forever on this thing we call the internet. Like that was a ridiculous fantasy when I was just a child. And so was it for you. So, the rate of which things are changing is exponentially increasing, geometrically exponentially increasing. It's just beyond fathoming. So my thought is, all right, now, knowing that the old economic rules may not apply in the future and knowing that we're moving into this exponential world, how do we teach people to think linearly, locally, but also exponentially and globally to solve bigger problems and have a bigger effect on the world stage so that we can ultimately move towards a better world where people don't have to worry about food, utility, shelter, education, the things that they spend most of their time just acquiring now just to subsist. What happens when those things are a given because we've made them so cheap as to be relatively same thing, like everybody has a cell phone now. This supercomputer we all have in our pockets that connects us to everybody. This is a magical device that didn't exist 12 years ago. Right. Yeah. Now it's like, if you don't have one, you feel like, what am I even doing in my life right now? Yeah. That's like a basic thing that people have. Right.
Do you listen to shows like this and think, I could totally do that? You have a longing to connect more genuinely with your community and have a platform where you can play a bigger game. But you never start because either the tech's overwhelming or you don't want more work on your plate, or maybe you're not exactly sure what you would say. Yet you have really important things to share. This is why we created a done-for-you content marketing service, helping you give life to the conversations in your head to grow your business and your impact. Learn more at mygroundswell.com.
What is make more marbles? So I get the concept, I get the metaphor with hungry hippos, but what is make more marbles? What is the work that you're doing in the world with make more marbles?
And it's a great question because it's been a lot of things in the 5 years I've been doing it. It started out as just a blog where I would just share my ideas, right? And then I wasn't really an entrepreneur. I thought I was, but I was actually an investor that did okay. My business skills, generating leads, closing sales, delivering value consistently, sustainably, scalably, were actually, pretty weak at that point. And I didn't know it. I just thought I was king shit on Turd Mountain. Like, when you make 26, when you're 26 years old and you make $1 million, yeah. You're like, okay, yeah, I got this shit figured out. I can go crank on this. So, it started out with just some consulting stuff. And then, people would ask me, let's go on trips, let's do different things. And one of the things I did was I joined a lot of mastermind groups, and I really enjoyed the mastermind groups. I'd meet people from all different walks of life, and I get to know them, and I would understand. Right. I became a connector, so I did that for a while. So the Make More Marbles thing was kind of around connection. And then I launched my first online course, and it fucking bombed. It was terrible. Like, I spent 6 months on it, and I thought it was going to be great, and I sold 5 copies and 3 refunded. It was awful. So that didn't work. And I, every time I would get a little bit more humble, and I would get a little less ego, and I would actually ask people for help, and it got a little bit better. So long story short, we ended up launching a few more courses. They were more successful. We ended up launching a few masterminds of our own. Now, just to fast forward the story, I've been a part of 26 masterminds. I've started 8 of my own, and now I have a program to help people build mastermind groups. And I've had a few other businesses on the side, like I had a few agencies,
right,
like that. But I didn't love any of that work. What I really loved, and I kept going back to, was mastermind, because I love that process of like taking somebody who's completely stuck and getting clarity with them, and then getting an action plan in place from that place of clarity, and giving them the support and building that trust, and getting leverage on them, right? Whether it be just giving their word or putting up money for whatever, like those pieces really are effective in getting people to take action.
Right.
When they have a community of people, or even just a small group of people behind them that is rooting for them, and they're rooting for those people, things really shift. So in my journey, I've kind of seen what works and what doesn't. I've been a part of a lot of high-end masterminds. I've probably invested $1 million or so in these between all the travel, and I've been all over the world doing them. I feel like at this point in my career, I have, again, made all the mistakes you can make in a very narrow window. And I have a system that I believe is elegant, in that it's simple and it's refined, and that it's scalable, and that you can do it with a great number of people. And I noticed that a lot of coaches, consultants, entrepreneurs, they have the same problem. They're on this income roller coaster. They're trying to do things that are way above their pay grade. They don't have the capital to like burn on figuring out funnels and ads and all these different things. They just really need a simple, sustainable model that's belly to belly, that's easy to use. You can use your Facebook or your LinkedIn to get leads. You can sell using a very clear, easy, sales process, and then you can deliver value in a sustainable, consistent way with a repeatable model that's high impact and high leverage and low time commitment. And that's a mastermind. And I don't think they need to be $30,000 a year to start. I think you can start with like, $500 to $1,000 a month per client, maybe 10 clients. That's $100,000 a year business right there. And you can build out from that. Or you can just finish my thought. You can start with a program or a course that's kind of a short-term thing, and then build into a mastermind. That would be the other way to do it.
Your product right now is a mastermind, or you help people create their own masterminds?
Yeah, it's kind of a mastermind of masterminds. We went meta. Make more masterminds, meta factory. Who knows?
Right. Well, got it. Okay. So people can be in your mastermind, and from that, they may create their own masterminds. I get that. So my question is, do you find that people, because I was reading through your website, trying to do a little homework, and I feel like your messaging or who you're speaking to speaks to people who have like important work to do in the world. Do you find that who you're attracting to your mastermind are people that are just wanting to sell the next widget, or they tend to be socially conscious entrepreneurs? Like who is attracted to your stuff?
Yeah, I think it's definitely more towards the latter. It's people that have kind of looked around the world as it is, and they see a lot of people making a lot of money doing things that they don't love. Or they're not creating a lot of lasting impact. And part of it comes from this 3G philosophy that I have, which is you need a way to generate money, sure, and you need a way to grow it so it can compound and last more than just your lifetime, or for later parts of your lifetime. And then finally, you need a way to give it, right? It's that conduit, right? We don't own money. Money isn't something that we just pile up and forget about. It comes into our life, it goes, it grows in our life, and then it goes out of our life, either through death or through giving it away. So getting leverage on that process, and, people who say that money can't buy happiness, I wonder if they have given enough away yet to really see what it can do for people when you give it away. I have so many stories of people whose lives have been changed because I was there at the right time with an amount of money that could help them, not just hand them money, but like solve their problem, really.
Right.
And that's changed so many lives. And I want to have the money in my life to do that. So, that's one of the reasons I do what I do. The other reason is because I feel like there is a contingent of people out there who, once their basic needs are met, they kind of run out of fulfillment. And they feel kind of empty, and they're like, is this all there is to life? Like just moving, shuffling sand around the sandbox? I'm like, no, let's heat that sand up. Let's turn it into glass. Let's give it a twist. Let's make it a marble, right?
Yeah. Nice. Totally.
So that's kind of where I look at it. It's like, I can help you if you're a coach or a consultant. Yeah, I can help you if you want to start a hedge fund. Yeah, I can help you if you want to do real estate. These are all things I'm good at, but I would say the thing I'm best at is helping create communities, and specifically through this idea of masterminding. It's not just a support group, right? It's like we want to actually get shit done.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like that because it feels action oriented. I do think sometimes, I think business has been very isolating. That's my experience of business. I, sit in my home office and my laptop and try to build what I want to build, but I've noticed that over the years, I've gotten crankier without physical or, human interaction. and I feel limited by what I can't see. Like I can only see what I can see. And I've been reinvigorated by reaching out to people and having conversations that raise my perspective right beyond where I can see. I love that. It's really good.
Yeah,
What
your vibe attracts your tribe, if you will.
Say it again. Your vibe
attracts your tribe.
Yeah. Totally that. Well, how would you, let's end with this. Like if you think about, my audience are really two people. One, they're people who just like you and me, they kind of went through life to do the stuff and it didn't fit anymore. They're like, I know that where my hero's journey has brought me to this point where it's prepared me with skills and perspectives, but this isn't it. There's something more I'm meant to do. And they're at that cusp where they're trying to answer that question. What is it that I'm here to do? And the second audience that I feel like listens to this, they found their message. Like they've dialed it in, but they're so busy by the day-to-day of their business that they don't have time to broadcast their important work in the world. So what I want to know from where you sit, what advice do you have for those two groups of people to get their important work out in the world?
Yeah. It's usually right under your nose all along. It's the thing that you might've been resisting up until now, which was true for me. Like it just seemed so, I loved masterminding. I even do a free mastermind, like 300 people here in San Diego. Like I just love doing it. And it was right under my nose all these years when I was doing all these different things and crypto and this piece and that piece. And it's like, what the hell was I doing? This whole time is right in front of my face. Teach people how to build freaking masterminds. Simple. But I couldn't see it until I was willing to it's not about adding shit. It's about taking away. It's addition through subtraction. One of my mentors is off to say. So, it might be right in front of your face and you just haven't realized. And I truly believe that life is giving you experiences to craft you into the person for whom the ultimate mission is easy, and transparent and flow and easy and it just feels good. Yeah. So if you're struggling or feeling down consistently, again, that's going to happen regardless. But if you're feeling that consistently day after day after day, you're just feeling more downtrodden and feeling more constricted. It's probably because you're on the wrong path and you need to listen to that. So it might sound woo-woo, it might sound crazy, especially where I came from, New York, where everything needed to have an explanation and needed to be nice and neat. You might think this is woo-woo California stuff, but let me tell you for truth is like, you have one life to live. And if you're not living it in a good feeling state the whole time, what the hell are you doing it for, right? You have this gift of life, and no matter what you do or accomplish, it's not going to make a lick of difference at the end of the day. What's going to matter is the lives you touched. What's going to matter is how you felt doing it. And what's going to matter is, did you really make the impact you wanted to have? And you're going to have a lot more impact just by feeling good than you are by doing the right things all the time.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay. So let me ask you, let me go back to the people who found their message. They've dialed that in, they've committed, they're all in on that. But they're not broadcasting their message, right? Like in other words, they have a message to say, there's something they've discovered, but they're getting pulled into all the other busyness of life and they're not actually getting their message out further. So what do you say to those people?
Yeah, to those people, it can be really challenging in a noisy world. My thought is that the right message with the right channel or medium to express it will spread naturally. I've had friends who are messengers that one of their messages, hit the right chord and has been viewed 160 million times. A friend of mine named Adam Roa. And every time I see that video, it's a freaking juggernaut. It came out last year and it just has like 10 million more views every time I see it. And I'm like, holy crap. And he was doing that for years, doing slam poetry and beatboxing and this and that, and the other thing, like everything you could think of, just like refining and refining and defining and refining. And one day it just clicked and everybody blew up and just hit the right channels and went going. So really it's like, you can't plan for that to happen necessarily. Right. But when you refine and you consistently spread that message and you get the feedback from the audiences that you have the privilege of addressing, it will continue to get better and better to the point where it's that 10-year success story, right? Where you've been plugging away at something for 3,650 days and then bam, it just hits. And I was like, oh, where's this guy been all my life? Yeah, right. Finally hit that collective consciousness in the right way. So just keep after it. It can happen that fast.
Yeah. So good. I love it. Well, Brad, thanks for your time. If people want to learn more about what you do, where can they go?
Yeah. So we're at makemoremarbles.com. If you're specifically looking to build a mastermind, you can go to buildamastermind.com and check that out. If you want to reach me on Facebook, it's at facebook.com/Brad Hart. And I am always available on social media. If you want to just send me a note, I'd be happy to connect.
Perfect. Thanks for your time today, man. Thanks for spending time with me, hanging out from San Diego. And I hope to connect with you more. I really love your idea of masterminds. I like masterminding as well. I just haven't been enough in them. So maybe there's some collaborations down the road. But thanks for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for being here and doing what you do and sharing more important work and stories of love.
Awesome. See ya. Do you have important work in the world? We can help you produce a show just like this one and get your message out in the world. Go to mygroundswell.com to connect with us now.